Hey everybody, welcome to session 2 of Changeling the Lost, powered by the Apocalypse hack, done as part of Gauntlet Hangouts with the Gauntlet community online. You can find out more about the Gauntlet community online and what we do and the things we put together at gauntlet-rpg.com. And tonight we'll be playing a hack of the Changeling the Lost setting, which was done using the Powered by the Apocalypse rule set by the Gauntlet's on Lowell Francis. And we've already done all of our character generation, all of our entanglements, motley questions, creating our little city for us to get involved with, and putting together a list of safety tools, lines, veils, and wishes for us to keep in mind as we go through our game. I'll be the facilitator of the game. My name is Chris Newton, and I use he, him pronouns. I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves and give a quick introduction of the character they'll be playing for tonight. And I'll go clockwise around my Zoom screen, which may or may not match up with anybody else's order whatsoever because this seems entirely random. So first, Will, could you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your character, please?
Certainly. Hello, folks. My name is Will. Pronouns are he, him. I can be found on Twitter at @WMSkyfall. And I'm going to be playing Immortal Jane. She was basically captured by she was a swimmer who was captured by a fairy named Gwydion the Shrine Keeper and was basically stuck as a marble statue in an oracle garden for an indeterminate amount of time. So her mien in fairy terms is that of a motionless or nearly motionless statue. And she's become something of a good listener as a result. She's trying to become basically a force for conciliatory peacemaking in this city that we've generated. And she tries to collect secrets.
Okay, thank you, Will. Leah, could you tell us about yourself and about the character you'll be playing, Silicate Switchback?
Yeah, my name is Leah, she, her. It's my first time with a Changeling the Lost game. I like the mythos, and I'm playing Silicate Switchback, who goes by the name Sally Catesby when she's passing for mortal. She is a bait maker in the Autumn Court, and was really, used to try and better understand the growing mortal world of computers and technology. And now, a bit from her own will, a bit from learning from, her keeper, really just hates the regimented closed-offness of computers and has a kind of revolutionary attitude towards just bringing a little more unpredictability to life. To do that, she moonlights as a cleaning lady to get closer to computers she wants to have join her reorganizing of society.
Excellent. Thank you, Leah. Next in line, Alexi, could you introduce yourself, tell us about you and your character Thistledown, please?
Absolutely. So I'm Alexi Sargent, he, him. You can follow all my gaming endeavors online at Cloven Pine Games. So check out Cloven Pine Games on Twitter, check out actual play videos on YouTube, and my game store on itch.io, where I've got a number of Cloven Pine games available for free or for very reasonable prices. And I am playing in this game Thistledown Susurrus, aka Timothy Russ. He is a skitter skulk beast of autumn. If you're thinking of a humanoid fox, you are right on the money. He was an art thief who got a lead that turned out to be a trap set by someone not of this world, and his durance under the Fae was served in the Lodge of the Scarlet Pursuers, who hunted him repeatedly. He has hung on to a shred of his humanity through impeccable grooming, and eventually, upon escaping from the Fae and returning to the world, he has set up with a den and a territory in this a park within our city of Fort Wessex. And so, yeah, he's with the Autumn Court and with this motley of changelings trying to do some good and steal some art when necessary or convenient.
Okay, thanks, Alexi. Stephen, could you tell us about yourself and Dewpool?
pronouns he, him. And tonight I'm playing Dupul Morning, who is an elemental of the air-touched kith from the Spring Court. His human name is Shiloh Mills, and he is an elemental of Petrichor, or the cusp of possibilities and anticipation. He was taken probably over 100 years ago from the mortal world and spent a good deal of time basically setting the mood in his master's menagerie, if we can say that. And basically, he was there to kind of show things off and make everything look good and make sure that everything looked and appeared to be good in this museum of types. And then I believe it was Immortal Jane who, whenever visiting, put the thought of escape into his mind, and he escaped with them. Oh, and I have a start of session move.
Yes. All right. Let's see. Let me do one more thing, and then we're going to come back, and you're going to make your start a session move, and we'll get the ball rolling. Basically, what we're going to get started here is once I'm get done with this last little bit of introduction, Stephen will make his character's start a session move. Basically, because we're playing this through the Gauntlet Hangouts, we are abiding by the Gauntlet Community Code of Conduct that includes using the safety tools which I've described previously, the lines, the veils, the wishes. We are also making use of the X card in case anything comes up during the game that folks, suddenly find just unsettling, uncomfortable, or just otherwise just don't want to see in the game. Throw an X on the screen with your hands, type it in the chat, just say, I'd like to X card that, and we will excise that content from the video, and we'll take a different direction. The only thing I may ask is just to make sure I'm clear on exactly what we're X carding, so I can make sure and avoid that subject in the future. But those safety tools, the X card, the open table policy, all of those are here to make sure everybody has the most fun they can, and to make sure that nobody has an uncomfortable or bad night of tabletop fantasy fun. All right, so we are going to get started here. First off, Stephen, you said Dupul has a start of session move. What is that move, and do you need to roll it, or is it simply a trade-off statement that we get involved in?
Pocketing luck at the start of the session, I roll 2d6. And on a 6-, you pocket it, and you get a soft move from Fate to use later on. And as a 7+ or higher, I can then swap it out later.
Okay, all right,
Yep.
So let's make that roll, and let's see what we come up with. Now, does it say you're supposed to add a move or or anything to that roll, or is it just a raw 2d6?
It looks like it's a raw 2d6.
Okay, let me double check, because I know sometimes, because this is a document in process, sometimes there might have been change in things beforehand. All right, let me take a look at that. We'll make sure I see where we're going. Yeah, it does not note that you should apply any particular mood or anything. So make your roll and let's see what we're doing.
Fantastic. Do you mind if I roll real dice?
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. I rolled a 6, so that means you get a soft move to pocket later.
Okay. You also get to mark XP. And,
off to a good start.
I do. Yes. Okay. In some cases it said that I don't, but in this case I do. Yeah.
Yeah, it specifically states that here. So at least on this move list I'm reading. So you're already 1 XP in towards your first advance.
Nice.
Okay. All right. Now let's sort of move in. We know that from the game announcement that we're coming up on the spring summer switch over of power. We know that's on the horizon. We're approaching the summer solstice, so there's a whole lot of political shenanigans in the Changeling seasonal courts that always are attendant on these sorts of things. And each of you has at least a tertiary interest in something going on in your courts, because anything that goes on in the courts basically can mess with the lives of pretty much every changeling in the city. So here in Fort Wessex, each court has a commons, which we established last time. They have their own little space that they have marked off for their court meetings, But one thing that I forgot to ask you guys last time, and I think we clarified this through the emails, but I want to make sure, is that the actual official freehold grounds that have been marked off specifically and ritually protected for the entire courtly processionals to happen. The main thing, I think we had decided to put that in an abandoned subway station through the email process. I wanted to, check with you guys about that again. Is that still where we'd like to place the official freehold grounds?
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Maybe it looks something like Grand Central. Those high vaulted ceilings and frescoes and stuff.
Oh yeah, and it's still underground, and some of those things might have been decrepit when you guys or when the original changelings who set up this freehold, 100, 200 years ago, 50 years ago, whenever it happened to be, they've restored some of that, and specifically sort of added a lot of their own artwork and improved some things. But what do they call the station now? Like this abandoned old subway station. What do the courts call it now? What do all the changelings refer to it as? Shorthand is the freehold probably, but does it have a name like Station X or anything any other sort of nickname?
Fort Central.
Fort Central. Okay. Everybody like that? Okay. All right, so I'm going to make a quick note of that. I do have, in case anybody wants to refer to it, I do have a space here on a space specifically on the character keeper to put cool places, and I am going to put Fort Central as the name of the freehold. All right, so now. I think, Immortal Jane, you have had your own political machinations, sort of moving along since you've arrived in the city, and that I don't think that has gone unnoticed. I think the rest of the Winter Court kind of has a sense that you would like to be doing more. Would you think that would be fair?
I'm certainly keeping my nose in people's business. Yes.
Okay. Well, that having sort of been floating out there around the Winter Court, like that you would be happy to be more involved should the need arise. I think you get a note, and it's delivered to you by Zetcher Mercy, who is a pitch grinner darkling of the Winter Court. And Zetcher is thin, like kind of an androgynous look. They're sort of tough to pin down, and they're pale with almost bleached white, sort of platinum blonde hair, and they sort of whited out like cloudy eyes, and they sort of lean in from a shadow as you're at the Winter Court Commons. It doesn't necessarily surprise you, because I get the impression that it would probably be tough to surprise Immortal Jane such that she would show it, right?
Right. She prides herself on being stoic. And it was a survival skill when she was in her durance, so.
Okay. So, you don't give like the jump scare reaction that you've seen a lot of people do when Zetcher does this. But they sort of lean in and say, Jane, Max wants to see you.
I hear.
And they hand you this little note, and you can see it there, and it's in that little, for the set, just for the sake of Abyssinian Max being Abyssinian Max, it's a scratchy little scrawl of penmanship that says, Jane, come to my office, Max.
All right.
You would think they wouldn't need to write the note. He could just tell Zetcher to tell you that, but maybe he didn't know if you would trust Zetcher or not. Courtly politics could be like that sometimes.
All right. So I fold the note up and stow it to dispose of later, and I head up to see Max. I will say that when from a human perspective, Immortal Jane is relatively agile and sort of full of motion and energy. She goes by Rooney Cabela when she's bartending. But her mien is basically flickering from place to place at about a walking or a jogging place, making her way across the room. So when she has to move quickly, she quantum occupies different stop spaces along the way.
Okay, so as you're moving through the commons, you're kind of giving a few people motion sickness as they watch you go past. And do you basically go straight to Max's office, or do you sort of track around so that it's not obvious where you're going? Like, how do you want to do this?
Well, to what degree do I expect, since this note came through Zetcher, to what degree do I expect this is intended to be down low?
Zetcher is usually like Zetcher is usually kind of the quiet go-between, like because they're a darkling, they move between dark places, they show up, they disappear. So you guess it's obviously if they're summoning you while you're at court, Max is probably aware that somebody else is going to know, because it's not like you can't hear things when they're talked about in this place, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you would suspect that don't get on the loudspeaker and announce it or anything, but like it's not going to be a big deal if the prince wants to see you. Like the prince occasionally wants to see everybody. So there's nothing in that note or in the way Zetcher does things that makes you think you should be extra super inconspicuous. But obviously they didn't want to like call you over the loudspeaker either. So
all right. So I think I will take my time getting there. I might mingle in the commons and say some kind words to people. I might suggest that I am leaving to handle some mortal responsibility, and like call a cab and then not get in the cab and instead go see the prince. Very
good. I think that's easy. Like as a general rule, at this point, we don't have anything on the in the character keeper that would lead me to believe that somebody would be purposely following you around. That may come up later, but right now, I don't think you're on anybody's radar in particular. So easily done. No rolls necessary for that. You circle back around, and you are standing outside of Max's little office.
All right.
And outside the door, you see a couple of like heavies that Max typically likes to use as guards, and they're just they're the big scary like ogre types. Like one of them is a cyclopean. Like they've got this sort of like this sort of really big extra eye in their forehead. They still got like an eyebrow ridge here, but the places where their eyes would be are just blank, and that one big eye just sort of boom, that sort of almost sound effect anime blink. They are absolutely hairless, but their skin has this sort of like sort of gristly look to it, and their mouth has this sort of irregular, like not sharp teeth, but like just irregular chunky teeth that just sort of point out in all directions when they close their mouth. The other is basically like a almost Bigfootish, like big, sort of almost ape-like, hairy, but both of them, because Max is particularly conscious of this, both of them are attempting, I say attempting, to wear suits. The suits do not fit well. You can tell that they're obviously hedge-spun suits because they have been made to fit the completely inhuman proportions of these two ogres, but
there was an attempt.
They tried. They really tried. The whoever did the hedge spinning on this like really worked hard, but ogre musculature is almost impossible to tailor for. And when it comes to this kind of like wraparound wear, most that's why most ogres tend to not wear like tight-fitting suits. Like you see like a poncho, maybe a big overcoat, something like that, but not like an actual suit. Yeah.
I have to imagine that those suits would get obliterated in a fight.
Oh, almost as soon as one of them like has to move really fast or do something really big, ogre style, like at the very least you're going Hulk territory where like the sleeves are gone, the bottom of the musculature around the legs just explode the pants, so that basically they're left with like this sort of weird, like Incredible Hulk, like just the pants, just the comics code appropriate pants would be all that would be left, and even that might not last very long if they really had to throw down. But I mean, they're standing there, they're kind of bored. There's usually not that much excitement with this, but Max gave them this position, and it's one of the few things I think that these two feel like they can actually like do a whole lot for the court by doing security stuff and being the big heavies. So they're here, they're serious, but they're also really bored.
All right.
When they see you sort of flickering, at first they like, because your motion is always unsettling, I think. Like even people that know you are, when they first see you moving, it's a shock reaction. Everybody has to look. But as soon as they recognize you, they both sort of like the shoulders sort of slump back into their normal board position. And okay. The ape says, "Hey Jane, Max is waiting."
Thank you. And I will proceed past them.
Okay. And the Cyclopean on the other side, like very carefully like reaches over as you're sort of stepping past the big Sasquatch guy, very carefully turns the doorknob with like his 3 fingers and 1 thumb, and it opens. Because this is still like a human-sized office door with like a human-sized office doorknob.
So is the doorknob like the size of his small finger or something?
Yeah, it's like he's got this like 4-fingered hand. Like, so he's got 3 really thick fingers and a really thick thumb, like designed to like pick up heavy things and throw them, but not necessarily to do like fine manipulation stuff. Sadly, his musical career was ruined. I'm not kidding. Like, this guy used to be a musician, and like.
Oh, and then this happened.
Yes. Like you occasionally still see him, like he'll try to do music sometimes, but it's always like really painstaking, and at the end leaves him sad and frustrated.
I mean, I can relate. I don't swim anymore.
Oh gosh, I can imagine how that would go. So do you go ahead in?
Sure. I'll stand a few feet in past the door with my sort of my hands in a sort of parade rest behind my back.
Okay. And the Sasquatch sort of reaches in and like pulls the door closed with like he hooks like a couple of fingers over the top of the door and just sort of gives it a quick little pull so that it slowly shuts itself. And inside you see Abyssinian Max, who is, as per the character keeper, is a humanoid cat, like anthropomorphic cat. He's roughly about maybe between 5'2" and 5'4", depending on how straight he's trying to stand. He's not a big fella, and he always is smoking a cigar. That's something he does. He keeps the window open in here. He has a fan blowing, and he's got like the little air purifier machine running in the corner. But it's an addiction. He's not even trying to stop himself. It's something he enjoys, and he even though he tries to provide for other people and be at least as courteous as he can about it, like this is his office and he's going to smoke in here. So he's got a little very stylish ashtray for this and for the cigars, and he's got one in his mouth as you're coming in, and he's sort of like. Is Immortal Jane like? Is it known that she doesn't like smoke, or?
I think she is unbothered by it.
Okay. All right. Then he won't bother to put it out or anything. He'll just say, "Oh, Jane." And he adjusts his little hat, and he says, "Glad you could come. Glad you were here. We've got a problem, and it's something that I'd want looked into, but I also don't want it. I don't want it known that we're looking into it. So just to start things out, that's where we're going with this. So now, I've heard some rumors. I've got good ears, and he taps his little cat ear. I've got good ears, and I've got ears in lots of places. And I've heard some rumors, you see, that these rumors are troubling me. They're making me unsettled. And he's moving his little claws, like just sort of like he has fingers, but he also has those little retractable cat claws on the ends of his fingertips, and he sort of clicks them together. And he sometimes does this when he's nervous, and sometimes he just does it to annoy people. You're not sure whether he's nervous or just trying to annoy you. I've heard that there might be something afoot with this upcoming solstice switchover between spring and summer. Now, I don't like to speak ill of my fellow princes, you see. All the courts are necessary. All of them are part of what we need to have for this freehold to work, right? So when I hear something like 2 other courts might be working together to consolidate power, I worry. I worry because if that were to happen, if those 2 courts try to seize more control than the system is designed to let them have, then that can be a problem. That messes up not just me. This isn't just about me, but it messes up the freehold. The freehold needs all the courts for all of those magic-y things that the autumn court's so good at, you see. For all those magical bindings and barriers and protections to hold, the courts have to do like we all know they're supposed to do. And if the spring and summer thing goes wonky or paws up in any kind of way, you see, everybody's gonna get it. We're all gonna be exposed. I don't want us to be exposed.
It seems that. I'm sorry. Go on.
Oh, go ahead. He's sort of like doing that little clicky thing, like he's searching for a word.
Given the recent events, I have to assume that summer is one of the courts that concerns you.
Look, I mean, we all know some are a bunch of hot-headed a-holes. I mean, that's what they are. You know, you can't necessarily be mad at them about it because, I mean, summer makes them that way. That's what summer does to people a lot of times. I mean, they call the winter court, you know, us a bunch of sad sack, morose whiners, but, you know, it's a stereotype. You know, it's hurtful to us. It's probably hurtful to the summer court that we all think they're a bunch of, you know, angry assholes. But, you know, what worries me is that if spring and summer, these two, you know, those two sequential seasons decide that they need to push things a little bit more, then we might need to make arrangements to deal with that. But I don't want to try and stretch my network. I don't want to call in any favors unless I know I have to. And that's what I want you to find out for me. I want you to see if there's anything strange afoot with this upcoming solstice. We know what's supposed to happen. Everybody knows the program. I want to know if anybody's planning to muck with that program. Specifically, anybody in the spring and summer court. If you find out somebody else is doing it, of course, like that's important too, but
Of course.
that might mean that somebody else is after power. But what I'm getting from my rumor mill is the grist that rumor mill is bringing me is that somebody in spring and summer is wanting to push things, to hold that pendulum of power on their side of things more than they should. And if that's going to happen, I want to know so that I can call in the favors, as I mentioned before.
As you know, I have contacts in the spring and autumn courts. It is possible that some outside perspective may be useful here.
Always. And again, my only concern is I want to see this inquiry on the down low. I know that your motley, y'all are good for that, right?
Always.
Okay. Like I expect you to use your network. I expect your motley to be involved. You know, even though I know one of your motley is from spring, but that may give you an in. That may give you another piece of information, another way to get information on this thing, if it turns out that spring's involved. I hate that you don't have any contacts in the summer court like you used to. I heard that went a little tails up, but those things happen. But look into this for me. Inform me so I can take whatever measures I need to take in the winter court's position, and the freehold overall can be where it needs to be.
My pleasure is to serve the court and my prince.
I like that. So, and he says, "All right," and he hands you like another little sticky note, and he's got his little sticky notes have this little paw print on them. It's like one of those little stylized pads that you might just got a little cat paw prints across the top of it. He says, "This is a burner cell phone number. You call this number if you need anything help-wise. Call this number if you need like heavy help. No, Toe Jam and Earl out there, they can be available if you need their kind of help. But if you need their kind of help, then it's gone really badly. Okay.
So this calls the way to the court in.
Right, and it will call me first. I will make the decision as to whether the weight of the court needs to be thrown. Don't think it's automatic. Okay, that's still my call.
Of course.
But when you use that number and you tell me you need it, you're suggesting that I make that call. And if I determine it's appropriate, like winter will be there in force. So keep it, keep that number close. And needless to say, that's not for anybody else. It's just for you.
I will use it judiciously or not at all.
Yeah, see, that's why I like you, Jane. That's why I like you. Be careful out there.
Ice and silence, my prince. And I bid him adieu.
Okay. All right. And as you're fading out, see, I think we're going to move. We're going to shift focus a little bit, and I think we see like a little fade in through some autumn leaves, and we flash over to Silicate. If Leah, if you're ready, if not, I can move to Alexi's end of this thing.
Moment.
Okay. All right. So we've got a situation here. All right. There we go. Okay. Silicate. You are in it's a late afternoon, so you haven't been called into your night job yet. You have, however, gotten a text message from Lean and Hungry Mike.
All right, what does it say?
It says, if Lean and Hungry Mike was sending you a text message, would he refer to you by your real name or by your human name? If he's sending you a text message to your phone.
Not my human name.
Okay, your real name. So it says, Silicate, we need to talk. And then, and then his initials down there. LHM.
I just text back where and when.
Commons bar.
All right. I think I head over.
Okay. And we've established previously that the Autumn Court is in this sort of weird supernatural space in a year-round Halloween store called Spectre Halloween Emporium. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah. Autumn Court, year-round Halloween store.
All right. So we've got the Spectre Halloween Emporium. You go there. You go through an employees-only door in the back, which is, basically not really a door. Basically, you just walk through it. Since you're a changeling, you actually just see it's got some of those like little sort of like freezer flaps, that have been glamored to look like an actual employees only door. But as a changeling, you see it's just a few of those flaps. You walk through them, and in the back there is there's like a sort of an open commons area. Like there's a couple of TVs back there. There's little spaces for people to chat and things like that. And you see a lot of standard folks from Autumn, people you recognize, people you may or may not want to see around, but they're there. And you see over on the far end of the bar in his special seat is Lean and Hungry Mike. And we're going to fade out for just a second here because my youngest is here and apparently wants me to do something. We'll take a quick break. I will pause the recording here for just a few minutes. Okay. Okay. We're back. When last we left, I believe that the Silicate Switchback was on her way to meet with the Prince of Autumn, Lean and Hungry Mike. See, you approach Mike at their place at the bar. Okay. The far end of this bar, and this is like I think in keeping with autumn as sort of the a transitional season. Like a lot of the materials used in here are like sort of repurposed things. Like this part of the bar is made out of an old school like big butcher block. It's been refinished and sort of had shelves, attached to it for the various, bottles of regular liquor and beer and taps and things like that. And also it's got a big shelf in the back for all the, strange goblin fruit nectars and things that some changelings like to occasionally have to really get messed up. So on this far end, this is where Lean and Hungry Mike sits. They have a special chair that they sit in, because Lean and Hungry Mike, as you can see from their illustration of the character keeper, they are a half-here ogre. And what that means is, it's unfortunately for Lean and Hungry Mike, it is a literal description. Like, you can only see half of Lean and Hungry Mike. Like physically, structurally, they're there. Hold on just a second, guys.
I'm trying to.
Okay, so Lean and Hungry Mike is a half-ear ogre. There's literally roughly half of their mass seems to be present at any given time, and it seems to be fairly random for most of their body mass. Like they are tall and lanky from the portions of them that you can generally see, but they're an ogre, so they're big. So they have this structure set up to where this chair has been made to be comfortable, whichever parts of Mike happen to be here at the point when they're in the bar. And
awesome. I order honeysuckle nectar and soda, which is my usual drink. Okay.
The bartender, let's see, who would be the bartender here? Who do you think would be the regular bartender for the Autumn Court here?
Oh, it's got to be Hopscotch Takebacks, right?
Oh, that, I'm sure they would love it. So that's it. Let's say that's who's here. So Hopscotch is there, and he is doing this sort of fancy, like Hopscotch has seen the movie Cocktails. Like, he's doing all the fancy mixing, completely unnecessary theatrically for the stuff that you've asked for, but this is how they make every drink. If you ask them for water, like they would like do like a glass flip for the ice. Just because Hopscotch needs to be distracting. He's always got 2 or 3 different tricks he's playing at any given point, and the one that you see is probably not the one you should be paying attention to.
I buy that. I also think the barback washing glasses has like 6 arms, but it's just more chill about this than Hopscotch.
Oh, I mean, it will be hard not to be more chill than Hopscotch. They're that sort of, their hand movements, just like a stage magician. Hand movements are distractions, and so he always keeps it moving. And he just sort of he's standing right in front of you, but he puts the drink way down here and then slides it down to where you are on the bar, because that's what he does. And Mike looks over, and right now, I think the parts of Lean and Hungry Mike that are present are their left arm, their right leg, and like the right half of their face. Like, mystically they're present, like all of them is here, but like for some reason, like there's only half of them that interacts with this physical reality at any given point.
Yeah, I look Lean and Hungry Mike in the eye and try and look him in the other eye as best I can, since it's not there. and say, what did you want to speak to me about?
Well, and they have this sort of odd echo to their voice. And it's especially apparent when like part of their head isn't there. So it feels like you're they're talking to you through a bad speaker. I'm not even going to try to do that kind of effect, but imagine you're hearing them speak through an analog speaker while using like an actual device that's normally capable of HD sound. So it sounds like a bad record. I've got a problem. We've got a problem. Look. And they are like they're randomly like thumping on the bar. I think Summer's up to some shit.
Well, they always are. What kind do you think it is now?
I've heard, and this is just like under the table street buzz, you understand? But I've got to take some of this shit seriously. And what I've heard is that somebody at the Summer Court wants to make this particular power shift more of a permanent thing. They want to set up like a permanent hierarchy with Summer at the top and the rest of the season subordinate.
Oh, what kind of idiot is behind that? They know that would shake itself to pieces in time and just make our lives here very difficult.
Well, there are some people, that want power, but they don't think about the consequences to other people afterwards. And you get the impression that they are like face palming the part of their face that you can't see with the arm that you can't see. Like it's a weirdly frustrating thing for, I think, for anybody that's interacting with Mike consistently. Like it looks like Mike is like doing things like expression wise and stuff that would be normal, but because only half of them is there at any given point, like any gesture they make, any facial expression they have always looks messed up.
Yeah, I think I kind of came to this meeting more casually, and now I'm getting a little more serious about it. And I try and like take Mike in actively instead of just kind of politely half looking at him, as it were. And I want to roll study.
Okay, I think that's good. Give me a study roll. What mood do you think you're using to try and figure out what's up with Mike?
I think it's plausibly anger, just because I'm like, oh, this sounds so dumb. Like, even if someone could pull this off, it would be a mess for them and for everyone else. And now it looks like Mike's going to ask me to clean it up. Can you link me again to the dice roller?
I think it's on the basic moves set. I'll try and put the link in the...
All the GMs keep their dice rollers on different tabs.
I've put it into the chat.
Found it,
Okay.
yeah. All right.
It should be quietly refined mollusk, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yep, I've got it. All right. Well, with that +1, it brings me all the way up to a 6. So.
Oof. Okay, and nobody's here to really, to help you team-wise, so we don't have an actual team mechanic going because you're not facing a threat as a team right now. So, do you have any moves that might give you an extra bump on that?
Nope.
I must have. I didn't think so, but I figured I'd better double check. Okay, so
I'll point out
one
aspect of this move, though. If studying someone from your season, you always get at least one hold, even on a fail.
Yeah.
So
you,
it's
yeah, you will definitely
still a
get that.
failure, but there's a hold task to use for asking a question or establishing a detail.
Okay, and I think here's what I think happens. You still get to ask your question, but I think Mike is taking your attention a little bit the wrong way. Like I think that you're Mike is definitely not used to people focusing intently on them for any reason other than to be like weirded out or disgusted or something like that. And so I think Mike because of the 6 or less. I think Mike is going to take the attention that you're paying, not in a good way, but in a they're gonna think you're basically like mocking them or being disgusted by them.
All right.
Okay,
The question
that sound fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
The question I have is, like, what does Mike want out of this personally? In that obviously someone will stop Summer. This is dumb. My character's not very patient with this kind of intra-court maneuvering. So he must be trying to stop this stupid thing less because he's afraid and more because, I think he sees some way to benefit from being the one to intervene.
Well, he definitely he's a prince for a reason. Mike, or excuse me, they're the prince for a reason. Mike has aspirations, and they want this court to be a little more preeminent than it is. Like Autumn Autumn is seen by most as a transitional court. Like it's not one of the 2 poles of the year when it comes to the big seasonal weather changes and stuff like that. Basically, Autumn gets a big glamour rush around Halloween. Like that's when you get the good stuff when you're Autumn court. Like Halloween's your big thing. But that Mike has been pushing for a long time to basically create a more permanent like administrative structure that isn't just the ad hoc sort of thing that the local courts tend to do. Like if something big hits the fan, like the princes will try to hold a meeting and sort things out, but there's not really any structure to it. And Mike wants to make a structure. Mike really wants to push for some sort of like I'm trying to think of a good way to put it, like not trans-seasonal, but like including having like an extra governmental structure, almost like maybe a bureaucracy of some sort, to actually deal with things in a way that's not just the sort of ad hoc, like hey, the 4 guys in charge of the court show up and hash something out. Like they want to have something. They want to have a more systematic thing in place. And you get the distinct impression that they're thinking that if they are the ones that sort something like this out, and like the other courts see that, especially if it reflects well that maybe your motley that has 2 members of Autumn in it is the organization that maybe figures this out and puts the kibosh on whatever might be happening.
All right, so I think
then they can use that.
Yeah, I think what Silicate says is, well, what is it you want me to do about it?
And Mike looks at you and like they give you like a very unnerving scowl. And Hopscotch is sort of moving in to like refill Mike's drink, and Mike like basically grabs Hopscotch's hand before he touches his glass, and he says, He looks over at you. He says, I want you in the Five Murmurs Motley. To find whoever it is, I want them dragged. I want them publicly named, shamed, and I want their chops busted, and I want everybody to know that it was us that busted it. That it was me and the Autumn Court that made this right. So that everybody knows that when I put forward the program to deal with this kind of nonsense without us having to sneak around like a bunch of idiots, that they'll listen. And so we don't have to keep doing this like hocus pocus, dance this hand over here while this hand tries to actually get something done bullshit. And he turns back to Hopscotch and he says, and if you do any of that flippy shit with my goddamn drink again, I'm going to rip your fucking arm off. He throws his hand back. And then he turns back to you, Silicate, and he says, don't fucking disappoint me. You know, I've seen how your Motley does business sometimes. I know you guys had some shit going on with Summer for a while. I know you know questions so loud. I get that. But you need to show me where your loyalties are. Don't mess this up.
I give him a curt nod and then slam back the rest of my drink and walk out of the bar to go find my friends.
Okay. And he sits there and seethes for a while. Like you can kind of feel that one scowling eye that you could see at the bar, like on your back as you walk out. Like something you did there rubbed him the wrong way. You're not sure exactly what it was. Maybe he was just in a shit mood and needed to vent, but like you get the impression like his buttons have been pushed either by something you did or by something somebody else did. And he is not looking favorably upon you right now. Okay. So Dupool, where do you think Beck and Call finds you?
I'm in the Foxwood Park area, and I think I'm just strolling down the pathway, and stumble across. You said it was Beck and Call?
Yes.
Yeah, and just to stumble across Beck and Call, I'm like, oh, of course I'd meet you here.
Yeah, and I think we'd established that this park has some sort of weird glamour on the walkways to where changelings can find their way together in this park relatively easily, right? Like, 'cause that's how you guys arrange a lot of your meetings, is you just serendipitously find yourselves on the same path if you just take a walk through the park. Was I understanding that right?
I mean, when Dupool's around, serendipitous things happen all the time.
That's right.
Yeah. So, and Beck and Call is there, and he is, as usual, he is dressed to the nines. Even in his mortal mask, he is a very well put together fellow. He's got like blonde hair and that ridiculous like model boy like swoop, and he is He's roughly about 6 feet, like lightly built but not skinny. He has that sort of vaguely athletic, but not, you couldn't really put a name to what athletic activity you think he might be doing kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
and says, Dupool. I should have known I would find you here. And he like waves his hand around. And I think, Dupool, unless you've been paying attention, I think maybe you find yourself by that fountain, the weird fountain that we've established is there in the park.
Okay. No, I don't think I've been paying attention. I think I've just been strolling along and going wherever it was. Things happen.
Okay, and he, comes over and says, come over, sit with me for a minute. I think you and I need to chat. We haven't talked in a while. And he's adopting that, like, that sort of come hither tone that is kind of his trademark. Like you can feel that glamour nudge that if you were a mortal would be, almost irresistible. But you're a changeling. This isn't him necessarily trying to like persuade you supernaturally. It's just part of who he is and what he does. Like this for him is just like breathing. Like when he does this stuff, this is the thing that happens.
So yeah, I think I'm going to go over and sit down and say, it's always been too long whenever I haven't talked to you recently.
And he smiles. He smiles in that like that absolutely just perfect like Hollywood smile. And the gleam off his teeth blinds you for a second, but he says, look, you might have heard some buzz about this upcoming solstice, power switch we usually do. Like every June it happens. And people talk. Sometimes people talk too much. Not me, you understand, but other people sometimes talk too much. You never talk too much. I know you're not that kind. You're not a gossip. You understand that some things have to be kept close to your vest. Some things have to be kept between family, right? So,
of course, whatever happens. It is the way of things.
And he looks a little puzzled at that for a second, but he nods, like he knows it. You get the impression he really doesn't know what you meant there, but he's nodding like he does because he doesn't want to actually have to ask, because he is not one to put himself in a socially vulnerable position. And he says, this upcoming handout, like, look, the prince is a little worried that something may be up with the solstice ceremony, okay? As spring, it's our job to actually set up the ceremony, to set up the handoff. Like we plan the beginning, and summer provides the end party, right? That's how these things work. But I've heard something disturbing about what summer might want to do with this.
Oh, really? I usually find the transition into spring much more exciting than the transition out, but you're saying that summer has something fun planned?
I'm not sure fun will be the right word for it. Dupool, the prince. Oh, one thing I meant to ask, and did you guys decide who the prince of spring was? I can't remember if we did or not. I didn't have it in my notes, so we might have done it, and I just forgot to write it down.
I don't recall it, but we can name it now.
Sure, we have a list here. Beck and call. He's involved in a lot of entanglements, so he may or may not be the prince. But we've got a long list of we've got an interesting list of strange springtime fae that we could use on our NPCs tab.
Yeah, let's do Semolina Pitchard.
All right,
Pilchard.
All right, I will put Prince.
Yeah.
Next to their name on that NPCs tab. And
That's a nice mix where we've got a wizened prince and a elemental prince and a ogre prince and a beast prince.
talk about serendipity. Good going, Duple. So, this Semolina doesn't want spring to be overshadowed here, okay? And for us to not be overshadowed, we need to know what's going to happen. And for us to know what's going to happen, we need for somebody to find that out. Now, I have a network of informants, but they're not really that deep into the summer court's confidences. It's a weak spot in my network. I recognize that and I understand it. And I will be dealing with that. But what I need, what Semolina needs, what the spring court needs is for someone to find out about what Summer plans to do with this ceremony. Are they planning on doing what Summer's saying, which is trying to usurp a prime position for Summer and make Summer first out of the courts permanently? I've heard that. I don't want to believe that, but unfortunately, it's believable. I mean, you and your motley certainly know what Question So Loud is capable of.
True, and you know, they are very ambitious. I just can't believe that they would do such a thing. That, I mean, that seems unbalancing even for them.
I wish I had your confidence, but maybe I can if you and your motley could do some checking into that. Not for just me, not for just me, you understand, but for spring itself. We need to find out about this. We need to know. Semolina, Summer is always overbearing when you're dealing with courts. Semolina has to deal with Questions So Loud a lot from that perspective. And she doesn't like it that Spring is sometimes treated as a junior partner. Like, we work with Summer a lot because we're both seasons of growth, seasons of life. But that kind of relationship requires trust. And we need to know if we can still trust the Summer Court. And that's what Semolina, that's what I and Semolina need you to do. We need you to find out what Summer is planning. Find out if we can really trust them to do what they're supposed to do what they have to do for us and for everybody. Okay? Can you do that, Dupool?
So I'll do my best. As you know, the endings of things isn't my best time, and Questions So Loud used to be one of us and isn't, so I don't know that I have much pull with them anymore, but I can certainly talk to the rest of the motley and see what they might be able to, what connections they have within Summer, and see if we might be able to get that information that would help out Spring. How much leeway do I have here? I mean, are there gifts that should be passed out?
I think at this stage, like, if we know something is really up, like, we can talk about like what Spring can do. But until we know what's actually going on, I don't think I can commit to anything. I mean, it would be unwise for me to commit resources without really understanding if there's even a problem.
Then I won't commit either. That makes sense. And I'll let you know what I find out.
And if you could, just keep the idea that the Spring Court is worried kind of out of the public eye. We don't want people to think that we couldn't handle things if something bad went wrong, but we do want to know if something's going to go badly.
Chris and,
course.
and Steve, this is all taking place in Foxwood Park, yes?
Yes.
Which is part of my territory.
Oh yeah. You can sort of I'm depending on how your senses work. How many den moves did you take? You got the basic den move, right?
The move I have is I have a special sense to represent my nature. So my question is, are both of you all right if Thistledown kind of saunters into this scene?
I certainly am. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's not a problem. I've got a communication for you too. So just be ready for that to be the follow up to this scene too. Okay.
Happily. Yeah. I think you like you hear someone like whistling loudly walking down the path, and it's almost like Thistledown is like specifically signaling his approach, and you wonder if he'd been hanging out listening before that, but he whistles a jaunty tune as he steps over, and he does like a little exaggerated bow. Beck and call. What a lovely surprise. And Dupol, always so wonderful to see you.
And Beck and call stands and he says, "Of course it is."
But I think that so. And Dupol stands up and leans forward to Beckincall and says, "Isn't it delicious to hear what Thistledown might be ready to say? What news, Thistledown?"
Beck and call sort of raises an eyebrow.
Oh, the world turns, the city spins. There are people in possession of paintings that they probably don't deserve. So lots of problems for little old me to fix.
Ah, yes. Art and worthiness. Certainly questions to ponder.
But not so loudly.
No.
I say very innocently.
Of course. Oh, quick question, Alexi. What is Thistledown's special sense? Is it hearing, scent? Like what is his?
Probably scent, right? Going with the fox theme, I think it's probably a keen
Okay,
nose.
no super dog hearing or anything like that. Okay.
I mean, do I just get the one?
I think it's like one sense that you associate with your animal form. But let me double check that.
Yeah. Probably he can prick up his ears, but I'd say that scent is the specialty.
Let's see. Oh wait, you can choose one out of that list. You chose special sense.
Yep.
So all right. So I think you can Beck and call at least as much by scent as anything else, because he always kind of smells vaguely of the most obnoxiously beautiful flowers. Like that sort of overpowering scent. It's a pleasant scent, but it's like
so
the
much
kind of pleasant.
It.
Yeah, it's a pleasant scent that's like so overpowering that it's almost off-putting.
Anything like different about it today?
You can certainly notice like you can tell a hint of, I think, irritation from him.
The scent of an irritated flower.
Yes, and if you wanted to know more, you could try and maybe roll a study move or something like that. But like you can tell like his mood, like he's a little bit irritated that maybe his conversation might have been heard by someone outside of his court. But if you want to know more, then you might have to do a study move on him.
Yeah, absolutely. I will roll study. I think just with power, because it's the scent is part of my animal power, and I'm also kind of just like giving a big old grin, like I hold the cards here, and I'm being very magnanimous in pretending not to have overheard what you just said.
So here's a quick question: if I want to help him, do I need to do that before the roll?
Let's see. Let me check and see if it outlines, because there is the assisting move here.
Okay.
So let's take a look.
Is that's different from support, because support is specifically for kind of comforting someone, helping them clear moods. Yeah.
Let's see. Well, they might have changed that and just rolled that move into the trust pool mechanic.
Okay. Well, we haven't. It's not exactly a conflict against a dangerous foe. It's just poking at.
Yeah, I don't think
here.
we've gotten anything that gets us into that. So,
Okay.
But so you might. I think, given this exchange, if you were so inclined, Dupool, you might also be able to, depending on how this goes, you might also be in a space to do a study move as well of your own from your perspective, as
Okay.
these two are interacting.
So I'll watch the two of you interact and then decide.
All right. I rolled a 10.
Okay. So what are your questions?
Yeah. I want to know. It's. Yeah. There's. It's pretty broad. Ask a question about a situation or place. Ask a question about a person. How can I get beck and call in my debt? And I mean, just to push that home, perhaps it's how can I get him to be in my debt just for me being discreet about this conversation, right? So I will I'm sniffing the air. I say, as always, your presence is a distinct honor in this park, beck and call. But is that a touch of irritation? I sniff out. Please don't be a stranger. What can I do to help you?
And you get that sort of prickly scent again, and I think beck and call kind of recognizes that you are, like, you have an in on his emotional state that he doesn't normally have to worry about people having, because number one, he's in your den space, he's in your territory basically, and number two, you have that scent thing going, so he's a little bit flustered because of that. I think if you want to try and put beck and call into your debt, debt is a particularly powerful thing. I think you'd have to push a button that he would be afraid to have pushed, like, and it will be you need to set it up as an implied threat, I think, but I think the understanding is, like, it would not be a positive relationship debt. Like, it would be a resentful debt, and that's the only way to make this work against him at this stage.
Yeah,
because it's not like he's doing it. He's not necessarily doing anything untoward right now. He's simply asking for assistance from a member of his court, but his court doesn't want other courts to know that Spring is worried and that Spring considers itself vulnerable.
Yeah, absolutely. So that totally makes sense.
What was your other question?
Yeah, sorry. I'll establish a detail with my other hold, because I can reveal a detail that changes or adds to the established fiction, and I'm going to build on some of the kind of character creation questions we had. The relationship between Beck and Call and Silicate, who kind of flew off the handle and injured Beck and Call in the past. So I'll say, if you're in need of outside court assistance, I am always able to help, but I could turn to my good friend Silicate from Autumn 2, unless you'd rather I not get her involved. And a very innocent face, but the implication is clear that we can keep this between us, or the threat is Silicate becomes involved, and that will be bad for Beck and Call's purposes.
Lexi, I will point out that there is no way a fox can have an innocent face.
My human face is pulling a very innocent expression, so
Yeah.
so like if the changelings are like blinking back and forth, they'll
Yeah,
see the
and I'm not,
difference between
and I've never. I think for them to see your mortal face, I think you'd have to actually push that forward a little bit. But they can always see your. They can always a changeling, unless you magically conceal it, can always see your actual seeming as opposed to your mask.
fair, yeah. So they're seeing the smirky fox face, and I push forward just the innocent human face a little bit, so you get like a bit of that double vision.
Okay, and you see as soon as you mention Silicate's name, you see him like wince a little bit, and his hand raises to that to the side of his head that she walloped before I think maybe you guys maybe had to pull her off him or something. I'm not sure exactly if we outlined how far that fight went, but
We know that Songbird Rex had
she
to
definitely hit
intervene,
him.
I think.
So he says, "No, look, this isn't a big thing. This is just a small errand. There's really no need to get that many people involved. In fact, I was just talking to Dupool here about discretion, and Dupool has a unique understanding of discretion that I think Thistledown, you could stand to learn from."
Well, there's no secrets within a motley. Surely you know that. Unless there need to be,
Oh,
then that could be
oh,
arranged.
oh, there are secrets everywhere. And he smiles.
And I smile back.
And yeah, your fox grin is definitely off-putting, but like a smile from Beck and Call is that sort of like creepy, eerie, like perfect doll smile. And he nods to you. He nods to Dupool and says, I'll let you all get on with your with what you need to do, and I'll look forward to hearing from you, Dupool, so that we can."
Before he leaves, I'd like to take advantage of this situation
Mhm.
to understand a little bit of his motivation. So I'd like to roll a study move. And I'm going to
All
roll
right.
that with spring, which is joy, which gives me a +1.
Mhm.
I rolled a 7 + 1 is 8.
Okay, so I
Gives
think that
me
gives you
1 hold.
okay.
Okay. And I think the question I have is he telling me everything about his motivation for his request? Because he seems a
Absolutely
little
not.
vague, right?
Absolutely
Or is
not.
that
He is definitely not telling you everything. But he is Beck and Call. If he told you everything, that would be the most suspicious thing he could possibly do.
So it's
But
not out of the norm, but there's something else going on too.
yeah, there's always Beck and Call is, I mean, Semolina is the prince, but Beck and Call is like the mover and shaker. If there was a like chancellor or like vizier position in the Supreme Court that was a formalized thing, like that's who Beck and Call would be. He is the person that Pilchard sends to get things done, not necessarily because he's the best person to send, but because he always jumps in to do them. And of course, there's almost certainly another motivation for that too. Beck and Call is all about Beck and Call. Like there's something in this for him beyond what he simply stated. So there's got to be something there. You're not sure what it is yet, but it's early, so you might be able to sort that out later on.
Of course. So as he turns to leave, I say, thank you for your accompaniment and your conversation, and I'm sure we will talk more later.
And he bows gracefully. He says, "You're certainly welcome," and turns to leave, pointedly not saying that it was nice to see you and all that, and all the normal pleasantries you would expect, because it's Beck and Call. Obviously, it's your pleasure. All right, and I think you guys want to have have a quick chat among you, or do you guys want to try and summon your motley mates for a possible motley meeting? What would you like to do now that
Yeah,
that beck
I'll
and call
definitely
is?
say to Shiloh. Well, shall we find the others?
Well, it's too bad that Question So Loud isn't a member of the Motley anymore. With this transition happening to summer, there's so much that we don't know, and I'd really like to know more about how this transition will be different from the previous years. Um, Certainly, let's talk to the others. They may know more than we do. Do you know more than we do?
By definition, I can't know more than we do.
Ah, good point.
And does everybody sort of get together? You want to fast forward to that point, or does anybody have anything else they might want to do individually before we get there? I've got three thumbs up so far. Leah, you okay with us moving to the group scene?
I am.
Okay. All right. Where do you guys get together? Do you get together in Thistledown's Den? Do you get together at some other point in the park? Do you go to a coffee place? Where do you guys want to meet?
Yeah.
While she's working.
Wait, you mean Jane's the one who works at the bar, right?
Oh, is that right?
I think Jane works at the bar.
Meeting at the
Silica-
bar, meeting at Switchback's bar would basically be meeting in the Autumn Court.
Oh yeah, let's not do that. So, Jane, are you the bartender?
Yes. And
Oh,
I'm on
that's what I
shift.
meant.
Yeah, I'm on shift tonight.
Okay, yeah, let's meet up there.
And is that a human bar?
Yes. This is Runia paying the bills. So I do have to sort of step away and serve customers and just sort of keep an eye on making sure that glasses are getting cleaned and turned over and all of that.
Nice.
Okay, so you guys all get together in the bar. Did we establish what the name of this particular bar was?
We did not.
Well, Jane, what is the name of the bar where you work as a mortal?
Ooh, this is where having a random name table would work.
Bar is called Random Name Temple.
I will say
There could definitely be I could see that happening in Seattle, maybe. Random Name Temple being an actual bar.
let's call it the Armory, and it's got this sort of rustic 18th century appeal to it. Like maybe if this were, it's sort of casting back to the Revolutionary War era fort stuff going on.
Is this like an old National Guard facility that got sold off during a downsizing period in Fort Wessex?
Sure.
Okay, and so it's called the Armory because it used to be like a National Guard armory facility type thing?
And now it's a trendy nightlife spot.
Okay. All right. So does it still have the old concrete flooring and everything in there? Or did they tile over that or?
Well, for verisimilitude, yeah, it's definitely concrete floor. Better AC though. They've
Oh yeah, they'd have to. You can have people like getting all sweaty and nasty in there. Like, dude. So you guys all come into the bar. Do you guys have a specific place at the bar that you guys have marked off as yours at Jane's bar, or do you have a booth, or do you just randomly select a spot at the bar when you get there?
Picturing a booth at the back.
Okay. So Jane, apparently you have to do a little bit of almost waitress style stuff. You can't just stay at the bar.
making things difficult for me again, I see.
Okay, so so everybody except Jane is seated at your small booth at the back. We'll say the booth is close enough to the bar where it's just like, you can just sort of step away from the bar a little bit to have a quick conversation.
Yeah, that's Jane's compromise. Is you're not going to make me. You're not going to make me. It's going to be suspicious if I loiter all the way across the room from the bar for hours.
Okay, so come in like now. How long Jane? How long have you been working at this bar?
This
Is this
isn't
like
my
a long-term job?
I've been here long enough to sort of know the locals. So yeah, let's say I've been here a couple of months.
Okay, all right, and
I sort of know who's been frequenting it and such.
Okay, so you've been here at least a couple months. Would you know, to just, would this be a place that other changelings would know to find you, other than your motley? Or is this something you keep this place on the down low? This is where you do your mortal work, as opposed to your fairy stuff.
I have not explicitly. I don't invite changelings who are not in the motley here. I'm not pretending I don't work here. So if somebody had to hunt me up, they could probably find me here without too much trouble. But I don't advertise it as the place where one goes to talk to Immortal Jane.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So you guys are all in the booth. Who wants to sort of start things out with the chat here?
I've got to kick off. I say, well, Motley mates, rumors are flying around, and at least one of us has received a task. I feel we should compare notes and decide where we're going next to make sure the five murmurs are on the same page.
Plenty of rumors in the Winter Court. This seems to be the season and a timely period for rumors to be spreading around from courts that are not summer.
Did Winter ask you to look into the ceremony then?
Some concerns have been expressed to me. But yes, the ceremony is on Winter's mind.
Doesn't sound like it goes, look, we're among friends. There's no need to be so precious. Prince Mike says that some screw up in summer is trying to twist the seasons out of their natural rhythm. Now, obviously, it will blow up in their face, but before we all get hit by the crossfire, he wants them found, told off, and, for us to get the credit. How generous.
Why would someone in summer be trying to do this? I mean, I've heard that there's rumblings in summer, and I know that we have history with Questions So Loud, but, do you know that anything like that is happening for certain? Do we have proof?
I think step one is finding some, yes?
That makes sense. I have also heard that summer is up to something, but, they're always up to something.
Well, we know the current Prince of Summer just does not, you see Silicate kind of grit her teeth and twist her braid in her hands, always have an appreciation for a natural balance among disparate elements. I'm going to roll inner conflict.
Nice. I like that Question So Loud is such a sore spot. We can just all, potentially roll inner conflict from bringing them up.
Yeah, I think the breakup of a motley is a traumatic experience. So certainly, like Silicate, what exactly is the inner conflict that's pressing you into this sort of emotional turmoil here?
I think I'm trying not to make this explicitly personal and to, be more professional about it. But in fact, I feel intensely personal about it.
Oh yeah. Okay. I
Yeah, that comment
completely
about
get that.
any proof. I'm like, wow, what proof do we need? That something
Okay.
doesn't work.
Yeah, we know that they are definitely difficult. Let's say. Okay. So what mood are you trying to use to keep yourself together?
Well, we haven't specified exactly how all this went down. And I feel like on the one hand, you know, uh, anger is a pretty reasonable one, but I actually want to, without knowing why yet, as we play to tell that story, roll with fear.
Oh, I can definitely see that. I can definitely see. I mean, yeah, one obvious thing that would come off would be basically afraid to find out that the rumors are true and that this person that used to be a friend really is trying to just completely muck everything all to pieces. Like that could be a source of fear, I think.
I've got boxcars.
Whoa. Okay. Well,
Let's see.
okay. On a 10 plus, sorry, hold on. Let's see. Yeah. On 10 plus, you managed to keep yourself together. Like, it's hard, but there are, I mean, I think maybe your friends can tell, like that there's a little bit of an internal struggle. Like maybe you have to take a deep breath or something like that. But nobody who didn't know you would see that you're having to fight this thing down.
Yeah, and I think I make the concession of saying, in answer to the question, no exact proof, at least not shared with me. Mike was in kind of a mood when I saw him, so he didn't give me that many details, just that he wants the job done and wants some credit for Autumn as well as for us.
Okay.
It's generous of our prince. Well, then I say we don't start at the top of the court, but closer to the bottom and ask a few questions, hit the streets, see if anyone in summer is ready to spill the beans.
Dupool, you're in a unique position. Your court is managing the handoff of season authority to Summer. Perhaps there are members of your court who are directly involved in the ceremony and their counterparts in Summer and may have contacts to counterparts in Summer. Perhaps we can nose our way into the situation through them.
That possibility doesn't feel right. I'm not sure why. It's true that there will be somebody who would, in spring, who would be participating in the ceremony. However, Summer is always, during this transition, has always shown a power grab, a power play during this time. If they open up to anyone, it would not be the spring transition people.
But surely your court has a stake in how the event proceeds.
Oh, of course we do. That's why I'm here, and I need to make sure that everything proceeds smoothly so that nothing reflects poorly on my court. But I don't think that anyone from within my court would be able to show hold over Summer. Perhaps we should talk to Summer directly.
I wonder if Songbird Rex isn't the person to chat with.
I've never been close to them. Have you?
Well, I pulled this one, and I point at Silicate, off of her.
That's right. I heard something about that.
So in some ways, she owes me. Narrator.
Well,
Songbird Rex does not owe Thistledown.
I like how you assume that people owe you, no matter whether they really do or not.
The only way to live. It's the only way to live, Dupool.
So Songbird Rex then. So Silicate, you have bad blood with them? Is that true?
I mean, what's a little tussling among changelings?
I don't think it went so far as to be bad blood. And Thistledown, if Songbird doesn't agree that, you're owed a favor for stopping a fight, I can always start a larger one. And then you can stop it.
That plan sounds exciting.
Jane, what do you think? You've been quiet. You don't agree with the Songbird Rex approach?
Certainly we have a connection there. I think that is a welcome way to proceed. I have to ask Dupool, have you heard any misgivings from your side of the ceremony? Perhaps your court has any information about who at least we should be talking to in summer. And I am studying. I want to roll study on Dupool because my prince told me that spring and summer were in this together, and I don't want to believe that Dupool has contrary orders to what the rest of us have been given, but I want to make sure that's not the case.
Okay, now here's the tricky part. If you have, there are also debt moves that you might be able to make use of to ask the debtor to answer a particular question. Honestly, like if you want to take a look at the debt moves, they're in the situational moves, if I remember right.
Unfortunately, I don't have a debt on Dupool.
Okay.
I mean, we have history. We escaped our durances together, but
okay.
I feel like we've been at a sort of comfortable medium for a while. So
okay.
This is more just relying on my knowledge of them and sort of, the years we've been out as to what to expect from their tells.
Okay. All right. Roll a study and let's see how it goes. What mood do you think that is pressing in this situation? Which mood are you rolling with?
Fear. I don't want the idea that I don't want the idea that Dupool could be blowing smoke up my ass to be true, and I don't like the idea of undercutting, of having the motley be undercut like that.
Okay.
Again.
Yes, quite. So 1 moment. Did not actually have any prep on roll for your party, so this is taking a moment.
No problem.
And feel free to use your own dice if you want to. Like I said, that's the roll for your party is there for anybody who wants to use it. But I trust you guys to roll your dice if you prefer to do that, or if it's just easier.
Oh, it faked me out with boxcars, but I got a 7.
Hey,
So I
7,
think
7 works.
So I think Dupool tells you, well, Beck and Call came to see me and told me about this trouble with Summer, with the Summer Court and the transition. As you know, Beck and Call wouldn't visit someone without a purpose. So there's something going on there. Do you get a hold? Is that what you get? Or a question or something like that?
Yeah, one hold, which can be a question about a situation or place, a person's motivations, desires, intentions, or I can reveal a detail, which I think a question about a person, I think that was very much focused on your motivations, or the motivations of your court as filtered through what you've been told.
So I think from how well we know each other, I think what you could see is that Dupool is holding his court's loyalty closely but you don't sense any malice there. When he says, of course, Beck and Call came to visit me and asked me to look into the summer court's intentions, you can almost sense a wince of, there's a little bit of pain associated with that, because it's just a step more to say that the spring court is concerned here. And I've been asked not to say that, so you can sense a bit of pain that I'm getting too close to the truth, too close to, I don't know, a limit that I can't cross, but there doesn't seem to be any malice there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
While that's going on, Thistledown, hearing Dupul seeming to be about to open up, runs interference to pull Silicate away, since he had kind of tried to get an arrangement with Beck and Call to keep Silicate from knowing Beck and Call specifically was involved. So I think I say something to Silicate like, that jukebox in the corner, it's played the same track 3 times in a row. It's getting a little predictable, to be honest.
I wonder what's going on with it, and then Silicate heads on over to go see what is up with the jukebox.
Now, I think the jukebox actually, just, it has a cycle that it goes on default if nobody puts coins in it, because this is an old coin op jukebox. So if nobody's put any coins in it, it has a round table it goes in, and that's unfortunately its most popular selections over the past week. And unfortunately, somebody has played that song at least twice each night for like the past 7 days. And it's what song is it, do you think, or what type of song is it that people have been playing way too much of?
I believe the chat has told me that it's "What's New, Pussycat,"
and it is. And it's really getting obnoxious. You've got the original Tom Jones version, which is okay, but then you've got at least 2 covers that are cycling through, and they're not good covers. They're like Kid Rock covers. Like it's bad.
New metal, What's New, Pussycat?
Or worse, like just obnoxious like boy band cover type stuff. Like there might be one that's actually like oh, that's an interesting take. Like maybe like a neo-punk take on it or something like that. But then the most of them are just like, hey, here's a poppy, just slightly up-tempo version of What's New, Pussycat. That with like boy band chorus vocal type stuff.
So I take a bit of leaf mulch, and this is certainly a well-known Fey trick. And you see kind of me pass it from hand to hand. By the time it's in my other hand, it's a shiny quarter. And I put that, enchanted shiny quarter into the jukebox. And I'm going to roll conflict with the machine, like my special move lets me do.
Okay. Now here's the tricky part. You can certainly do that if you would like to, but if you're using fairy magic on a mortal machine in this context, you could just, that's a relatively minor cosmetic magical effect. You could just use an invoke contract and not have to roll and say your fairy powers fix it. But if you really want the roll, that's cool too. If you'd like to see how things turn out and see how it would work.
I mean,
If you
Just don't
wanna say
assume what Silicate is doing is going to quote unquote fix this machine.
Okay. Yeah. So you're doing you want to up the magic a little bit beyond just simply switching the songs up.
Absolutely. So my goal, I kind of put the coin in, and as it rattles through, like the coin is really, singing its own little song to the machine, saying like, why should you play other people's songs, machine? Why don't you rewrite them yourself? Just starting with a little bit, and it's kind of the music would stutter for a second there. But she's, encouraging the machine to stop following its own programming and to start experimenting with musical expression.
Okay. With the conflict move, just choose whatever emotion or mood you're rolling with, and make a roll.
It's 100% joy.
Okay. Go for it.
exciting to invite the machine into something more than it was built for.
I look sidelong at Thistledown and I say, I will remember when we see the consequences of this that you encouraged her to mess with our jukebox.
I just pointed out that it was on repeat.
All right, it's a 9.
Okay, so if we look to conflict, on a 7 to 9, you pick 2 options from that list. This is a big long list. So like this, because conflict in this system, in this hack covers basically physical, emotional, and social conflicts. So choose 2 effects that you think would be something that would be appropriate in this situation, and describe how you think they come to pass.
Right, here's my proposal. Let me know if this makes sense to you. I think I get what I want from them, and we've just gotten around to the heavy metal iteration, and like part of it starts to loop, and then like there's a little like strange tentative soprano voice like weaving in among the heavy metal as the computer tries to figure out what it has to add to the song. It sounds so much worse. And the two I'm thinking of are you get what you want and you confuse them for some time, which I think would include the jukebox itself and everyone at the bar, as the jukebox like will now only play What's New Pussycat as it like keeps trying to expand and find its own version of the song.
Jam session.
Okay, so it's randomly generating new versions of the song based on the songs that are in its that are in the system.
Or is it awakening and starting to express itself rather than just picking at random?
Ooh, okay. So
from the point
now
is it pretty random, but Silicate has great hopes for this machine.
Now, is it still sticking with What's New Pussycat, or is it expanding to other songs?
It needs to master that first, it feels.
Okay, so you satisfied? Are you satisfied with it now switching between those, or or do you want to push it further?
No, that's great. Like
Okay.
Silicate feels great about what she's done here. Leah, the player, is really sorry about James Barr.
I mean, you didn't choose you avoid costs or reprisals, I believe.
I think that's the case for when I jam a jukebox on What's New Pussycat with increasingly insane renditions.
Yeah, you effectively supernaturally enabled an AI in that jukebox, so who knows what will happen.
So Jane is motionless, and her face does not betray this, but people who know her can feel that she's wincing deep into her bones.
Are you rolling in her conflict?
Not until I see more consequences. I'm just expecting them coming.
Yeah, and and I'm pretty cool with anybody wanting to call inner conflict. Like, just remember, like, it's inner conflict is like the equivalent of a take a powerful blow type of thing in Masks. Like, it's when like stuff is really punching you hard, emotionally, and like the question so loud thing. Like that was a perfect like inner conflict. And of course, like confronting any of the long-term abuse issues that all of changelings have. Those can always be used for it. But there's also for more minor things that you have to face and make your way through. There is the stay strong move too, for stuff that's not like an emotional, not like trying to weather an emotional hurricane, but more like, I really need to get this done, but stuff's in the way, kind of thing. There's a stay strong move to kind of, so that you're not like your emotions aren't quite as involved in it, but it's still something that move can be used too if you're not thinking that something rises to the level of like the inner turmoil move.
I like that. So before we go down that road, I say quietly to Dupool while Silicate is away, and my voice is pitched low, but I'm assuming Thistledown is going to hear this. My friend, I defer to your judgment, and I do not wish to I do not wish to cause you or your court any pain, but you may want to keep an eye open for members of Spring who would benefit from from an inappropriate power grab by Summer.
Oh, do you know something? Is there someone we should talk to who, in Spring, who might gain benefit? Of course, Beck and Cole always wants to gain benefit.
This is only rumor and hearsay, but the possibility exists, and I suggest you keep an open mind for and an eye out for it.
I'm so grateful that we are so close to each other and a part of the same motley. You look out for me more than I deserve. Thank you.
Well, we survived a lot together. That means something. Now, speaking of surviving, I'm going to have to survive unruly customers for the next while. So if you'll excuse me, I'm going to roll Stay Strong to try and maintain a solid hostess face against the chaos that Silicate has injected into my bar. And I'm doing this with calm because that is Jane's go-to emotion for dealing with bullshit.
That is excellent.
Which is good because that brings the 6 up to an 8.
Okay. All right. So with Stay Strong, we've got a get to the. All right. With Stay Strong on a 7 to 9, there's a cost involved. Let's see. Okay. I think here's the cost. I think in order to basically deal with the customer complaints now about the jukebox, I think you have to unplug it. Like you are getting like multiple complaints about that. Like as you're going through, like every single customer is like, God's sake, shut that thing off. It sounds like somebody strangling Tom Jones with a synthesizer. Just turn it off.
It's somebody's complained that that they put a quarter in and it did nothing and they want their money back.
Oh yeah, it's all sorts of complaints. Like everybody's trying to get it to do something else. Like people are really like within about 10 minutes, people are sick of What's New Pussycat, like every version.
Okay.
And they all want that thing to stop.
Meanwhile, Silicate is like nodding her head along to the beat, even though the beat is now irregular, and yet somehow she's nodding her head in perfect sync with it.
Yeah. So the cost is your customers are complaining, and some of these people are regulars and are just big enough jerks when they're not liquored up to report stuff to the management. So the pressure is they want that thing shut down, the stress is like how Silicate feels about that.
Mm-hmm. So I lean by the table and I say, bad news, Silicate. Your new friend is causing a stir. Either I have to unplug her or she needs to explore her opportunities more quietly. Can you help me with this?
Silicate like rolls her eyes at the customers generally and goes like, "Oh, come on, it's just a baby. It's cute. It's experimenting."
Not everyone here consented to this experiment.
Trying to figure out what my options are here.
I do sympathize, but
I think Silicate like sighs and goes, let me have another talk with it.
Thank you.
I'm going to go back over to the jukebox, like at this point humming a kind of atonal version of What's New Pussycat. And like she taps like the top of it affectionately and goes like, sorry baby, people just need you to speed up a little bit. Obviously what you're doing now is very adorable, but, and then she like cracks her knuckles and like feeds one of the wires from her braid into the coin slot, and I'm going to roll practiced perfection.
Okay. And what does that particular move let you do? That's the defining move for the Wizen. So tell us about what you're going for here.
So basically she's trying to jumpstart the jukebox along the path it's treading. So it's going to have really a finished work of art and be done with this piece, but like move on to whatever the next step of its attempts to express itself in the world are. My practice perfection is revolutionary.
Okay, so this thing is going to come out of this like as the ultimate like jukebox. If you hit this thing,
probably celebrate by having the world's like most stirring and in some sense memorable What's New Pussycat.
This is rough because the bar craves order, the bar craves familiarity, and it's not getting that.
I think it's really going to like the final version of the song, and then it will be able to try working on other songs. So, rolling with joy, she's very proud of it. Oh, that's a 12.
Okay, so we're looking at that move, and if on a hit, you get to pick two from that list. The project's done, so you pick two from that list of things there.
Yeah, I think it's in a fraction of the time and with unearthly beauty. So like,
okay,
there's going to be one more What's New Pussycat, to the point where maybe someone who had just walked into the bar wouldn't even quite realize that was the base song. But like every person in this bar is going to walk home humming this new version to themselves.
And there's going to be multiple versions of other songs too. And then people are going to be describing these songs, but like, where the heck did you hear that? Adele has never done a cover of that, that sort of thing. And it's gorgeous. Now here's the thing. You did have to use up some resources because you didn't pick the without tools or resources. So how did you use up your resources? Like, did you push some glamour into this, into this creation to help it move, to help it speed up? Like, how do you think you did that? Are you out of extra wires from your headband now?
Yeah, I said she was feeding some of the wire from her hair in. Like, I think it's possible her braid has gotten shorter, even though logically that doesn't make any sense, right? But like magically it does. So what she had was like a waist length braid, and now it's more like shoulder blade length.
Okay, all right. So there's a noticeable. I don't want to say diminishment, but there's a noticeable like reduction in like the magical heft you're throwing around by the time you're done with this. Like, so you're not marking a mood or marking or marking drained or anything like that, but like you feel that took something out of you to push things along that quickly, but it is really beautiful.
Yeah, and I think as she does that, she kind of tosses her lighter braid over her shoulder as like people all calm down in the bar and says to Jane, "You owe me for that one."
Yeah, and
I want to see how it's going to grow up in medium real time.
And Jane, as you look around, like you see, like some people are hearing some of these songs, and you see some people like, they're in their cups a little bit, so this might be them being overwrought to start. But you see a few tears, like when one of those sad ballads comes on that the jukebox is now like has amalgamated from its musical resources, and like those people that were complaining a minute ago, as you do your next round, they're like, I don't know what you got your tech person to do, but that is the most amazing song I've ever heard. Like, I went over and I couldn't find it on the list. I was trying to figure out what song it is, but did you switch out the drive or something? Like, it's not even on the list.
The owner has some eclectic tastes. I may have to he generally slides in from time to time. You may be. I'll tell him to keep the hits coming.
Oh God, please do. And you get that sort of sentiment like from multiple people now, like as you're going along. Like there's still a couple of like grumpy drunks that are like, I don't like music while I'm drinking, but almost everybody there now is just in awe of this machine and this music.
Yeah, I'm willing to take a debt for that. I was going to argue for mutual debts because I let the jukebox live out of deference to your desires, but I feel like the bar will actually benefit from this. So
awesome. I will definitely mark down that debt I hold on you. I think definitely if you had let the jukebox keep playing in its current state, I would have owed you a debt.
All right. We're at about 10:22 now. Is everybody comfortable to take like maybe a quick 5-minute break and then come back and roll to the end?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay. 5 minutes. See you guys back at 10:27 EDT. Okay. Just to double check, is there anything else anyone wants to do there at the bar before we shift scenes to let you guys try to roll hit the streets or some other investigatory type moves to see where we go next? All right.
I think we're all good.
Okay. So what do you guys want to do as the next step in your investigation here?
I say we hit the streets and talk to Songbird Rex.
Okay, that is definitely a possibility here. Let's see. Now, the Motley as a whole doesn't necessarily have a bad relationship with Songbird Rex, but Silicate, I think you and Rex have an unfortunate history that involves beckon call.
That's right. Beckon Call tried to buy my beloved sketch, which I would never sell or part with, and I was angry about that. It's the worst insult anyone has offered me.
Okay. How did you injure Beckon Call? We might have gone through this, but I mean, I wanted to highlight that. Did you did you slap him? Did you jump him and like curb stomp him? Like, how bad did this get?
I think I punched Beckon Call, and then as he geared up to punch me back, the telephone wire from above him grabbed him and held him, and as I punched him again.
Okay, so you double sucker punched him. Excellent. If anybody deserves it, it's probably Beckon Call.
And if someone sucker punches you twice, doesn't it make it your fault?
Yeah, I mean, punch me once, shame on you. Punch me twice, shame on me. It's something like that, right? Hey. Okay, so when we're looking at the hit the streets move, first we got to figure out who wants to be the person that's going to make the roll. You're not necessarily confronting a threat yet, so I don't think we bring in our trust pool mechanics just yet for this. I don't know if there's any way for anybody to really help out on this. So who wants to be the one to possibly take the hit here?
Thistledown, you have a solid history with Beckon Call, do you not? And Beckon Call and out of character, that was that common knowledge that Thistledown and Beckon Call have a, or am I thinking of a different character? Is it Dewpool who has the relationship with Beckon Call?
Dewpool and Beckon Call have more of a friendly rapport.
Okay.
Yes. Beckon Call is my boss to a certain extent. He's kind of the salesman, and I do the work and show possibilities of what can be done. So.
All right.
I can certainly, I think it's a good idea if I make the roll, especially since we're trying to, spring is the one who's passing over into summer. So it would make sense that I would approach Beck and Call. Or I would approach
Songbird
Rex,
Rex, right? Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And Songbird and Beck and Call have that extended connection.
Yeah, they've got a relationship. I don't know if we specified what type of relationship it was, but apparently punching Beck and Call made Songbird Rex Silicate's enemy. So apparently it's a pretty close relationship.
Yeah, I think we said it was a romantic relationship.
Okay. And did we specify is Songbird Rex? The art is not very clear, so because they are a long lost beast, they are like an
We put in
amalgamation.
she, her as Songbird
her,
Rex's pronouns.
Okay, all right. That was going to be my next question. Because the default character keeper doesn't always have that stuff in there, so I wanted to make sure if we designated that we were all clear on that. Okay, so Dupool, since you're going to be making this roll, where do you think you're able to make contact ultimately with Songbird?
So I think that Songbird Rex is probably hanging out. Let me take a look real quick at the Places tab. And see if there's anything that makes sense.
There's
oh
a
yeah,
zoo.
sure. There's also a park. Is that the summer court location?
Well, there's a
yeah.
The Olympiad Park.
Yeah, the Olympiad Park is the summer courts. That's where they have their Olympic pool commons area.
Yeah.
There's some docks or water parks I think that we sort of brushed against on Lake Hastings, which is the big lake.
Yeah. Well, let's go with the zoo that someone mentioned.
Okay, what's the name of this zoo? Let's fill it out a little bit.
Hayden's Zoo. It's named for basically there was a child who had passed whenever they were young, and his parents were quite wealthy and started this zoo because he would have loved it. Yeah.
Okay, so it's a kids oriented zoo.
Yeah. A lot of petting areas and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Okay, very very cool.
Any relation to the Hayden who's on the whose name is on the aquarium?
Oh, I might have just had that stuck in my head.
It's fine. They could be the aquarium and the zoo were both. It could be a wealthy family that endowed both of these places, right?
Or they could be connected. Yeah,
that makes sense. All sorts of take the kid around to see all the animals and then all the fish and then.
Oh yeah, because Hayden Walker, the aquarium is a memorial aquarium, so I mean that family could have really done a lot for the city, in the name of their child that passed. I think that's a cool element.
Yeah. So let me roll that and see how Hit the Streets goes. And I pick
you pick whichever mood you think would work best for you in this situation.
Or should it be? Is it in this case? Is this one a seasonal move?
Hold on. Let's see. We might be able to shift this around a little bit. Because this person is in your court, you could make use of some of your court moves. They are
not in my court. They are in summer, and I am in spring.
Oh God, that's right. I forgot. There's that cross court romance there with Rex and Beck and Call. Okay, yeah. For some reason I had shifted them in the spring court in my head. I'm sorry about that.
So that I think rolling with spring makes the most sense to me because I'm approaching summer in that case. So I'm going to roll with joy or spring, which is a +1 for me.
Okay.
And I rolled a 5, so that gets it a 6.
Oof. Okay. All right. So,
nice.
In this situation,
and of course, you, the GM, also have a kind of just a little leftover. I
now have one hard move I can make and one soft move I can make.
Yeah.
So, well, I think I have an idea here. Dupool, I think you are coming in to try and make contact with Rex. And you find Rex. She's over near the reptile house. It's where they have all the various like reptiles that they need to keep in a more climate controlled area. So they're in like their own little enclosures in there that are heated or cooled as necessary during the year. And she is. I think she is actually one of the zookeepers here. And she sees you walk in, and she's talking to a couple of other zoo employees, like these sort of junior members of the zookeeping team, like, okay, instructing them on something. You can't really hear what they're talking about, and she like points them off to their jobs, and she starts to approach you, and in her mask, she is a tall, imposing lady that is dressed sharply in a like a zookeeper uniform, but with a lab coat over the top, and she's got like an actual ID badge. She's basically one of these senior zookeepers here. One of the four that are on the main board, and she in her face seeming, she is like roughly 9 feet tall, and looks like you see on the character keep like some sort of amalgamation of like of dragon and person, with maybe like some other chimerical elements thrown in, both beautiful and kind of terrifying, by measures. And I think, Duple, for you, with Rex, there's always this sort of exquisite like edge of possibility there, like that the animal the animal will take control, because unlike, say, Thistledown, who is basically just amalgamation of a person and one animal, Rex she's multiple things. She is so there's so many different possibilities as to which beast might come to the forefront, and how some of those quasi-mythological elements to her might actually interact. So there's always that sort of edge floating there, especially for you and the way you sense things, that makes interacting with Rex both kind of invigorating and also a little scary.
And I think that when I step up to her, I say, "Oh, it is always fantastic to be within your scaly majesty, Songbird. Thank you so much for seeing me today. I have some questions that I'd like to talk to you about."
I had a feeling I might be seeing some of you. And I was asked if I did to give you this. And and she hands you like a little card.
Fantastic. I'm always so happy whenever people anticipate my arrival, and I'll reach over and take the card.
And you feel this sort of crescendo of possibility, like as you take that card, and you turn it to where you can see it. And on the card, there's a symbol there, and you recognize it. It's the old symbol that you guys used when you first started the Motley. What is it? It's a symbol of five murmurs. What was that little sigil that you guys used when Questions So Loud all of you were together?
Yeah, I think it's actually a 5-pointed star with a circle around it, indicating the 5 of us, of course.
Okay, and I think you see that, and I think you're going to have to roll inner turmoil here. Like this is a deep cut.
Yeah.
You haven't even gotten to the text on the other side of the card.
Right.
Can I ask, are we picturing that the rest of the motley is here too, like lurking and
think
watching,
I think
visibly
maybe you guys,
present?
do you guys think that it would have been advisable for Rex to see the rest of you, or do you think it would have been like you can certainly be close? Like I think
Maybe.
you guys are. I would think you guys were probably at the zoo, but maybe not in the reptile house.
Yeah, maybe it was my
situation.
intention to come find Rex and then bring him out to talk to everyone else.
Okay,
If
so
you guys all want to be there, like that's going to change. That'll shift some reactions. But,
no, that works. That works for me. That if we're kind of like waiting, out by the big lion statue. Thistledown has bought some overpriced zoo cotton candy. That he is eating during this period of waiting. When is Dupo going to get here with Rex?
Yeah, cotton candy is almost impossible to eat with the fox mouth. By the way, you're making an absolute mess of your fur.
It's very tricky, but I am determined.
Silicate is just kind of poking experimentally at one of those automated food dispensers for feeding the animals at the petting zoo. And no one expects this to end well.
Oh yeah, and it's a wholly this part is these things are still old school, so it's like a coin and crank sort of thing. So that's going to be really interesting if you decide to mess with that one. We'll keep that in mind.
So I think I'm going to roll inner turmoil with sorrow for a missing member, and that's a +1 for me.
Okay.
And I rolled a 6. +1 is 7.
Okay.
Let's take a look at. Flee the scene, mark clarity, or mark the mood until I change the situation.
Yeah. Marking the mood here's what marking the mood will mean for you. It will mean that you will not be able to roll with that mood until you clear it. So that mood will be off limits for using for anything else.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to mark it, and okay. There's a pull down. I'm going to mark it with. I'm going to mark sorrow because I want to see that scene later whenever we try to deal with that sorrow. Yeah.
Excellent. I like that.
Yeah.
And so that emotion kind of that cuts, that hurts.
Oh, absolutely. And then I take the card and I flip it over to see what's written on the back.
Okay. And again, that that cusp of possibility. Ooh, there's a tang there, and you turn it over, and it says in handwriting that you know so well. It says, "Call me."
And I turn to Songbird Rex and I say, so who gave you this?
And she looks, she looks a little she looks like, she looks at you like, she looks at you like you're an idiot.
Right. Right.
And she has that, even though she has that weird, amazingly awesome, monster face, like you can very clearly tell like the slightly cocked eyebrow ridge and like the expression on the rest of that face, like
the quizzical head tilt.
Yeah, it's like the bird like. Oh, who do you think, Dupool?
Well,
who do you think would have given me that? You think I keep those old things lying around?
No, but someone could always have forged something, and I just kind of wanted to know what I was getting into. This makes Dupool look crazy because I don't think people can forge this kind of stuff, right? Or it would be really difficult.
It would be hard, and they would have to people can forge anything, like even magically. It would be hard, and it would be a lot of work. Especially something that would be as mystically significant to you guys as this.
Yeah.
Like, because that's not just a piece of print on paper. Like that's a mystical sigil. Like that's your original Motley sigil. You've had to change that since Questions So Loud broke with the Motley. You haven't been able to use that because that was tied to all of you. And if you used it, you would be giving things away to Questions So Loud that you don't feel comfortable sharing with them anymore, I don't think. So this is the first time you have seen that sigil in a while.
So I think that go ahead.
Rex is just sort of like after that. She's looking at you with that bird cocked head. Just
Well, I have some questions for you. Can we go someplace a little bit more private?
and she looks at you and she says, "Talk to questions so loud. Once they've spoken with you, they'll tell me if I need to speak with you again,
Oh,
or
I
if I
see.
need to do something else."
Okay. I'm sorry that you feel that way, but I will certainly go talk to questions so loud. And I thank you for your gift that you've given me. And I kind of step away and then turn and walk out the door.
And as you're walking away, she says, "I did give you a gift, but not the one you're thinking. It's the fact that you're walking away. I don't trust you. I don't trust any of you. You've all shown your true colors before."
And I kind of
Just be happy that Questions So Loud still, after all this time and after all you've done, still has enough trust in you to talk to you.
and I
And
think
then
as I
she turns and walks away, like, just that's her cutoff. Like, you can still talk to her back as she's walking away, but like that's her
yeah,
cut.
I think what happens is I go to open the door and I turn to give a salute and I see her back walking away and it's kind of salute to empty air. She's not there and it's kind of this awkward moment. And then
And that tail is like swishing like an angry cat.
yeah. And then I step out to walk to go find the rest of them.
Okay. Have you guys gotten up to anything awful in the meantime, or are you just quietly waiting for Dupool to get back?
I've triumphantly finished the cotton candy.
Me and the lion statue have been people watching.
Just for flavor, I have like the crank now has like 3 different cranks are attached, and no one has asked Silicate yet what they all do.
Oh, I'm sure some child will discover that in the next hour or so. Okay. Dupool, you get back. What do
Dupool, how
you
did it
say?
go?
It went fantastic. It couldn't have gone any better. Well, it might have gone better. Songbird Rex is very angry with me, and she kind of was a little bit threatening. But that's fine because she gave me this. She knew I would be coming, and she gave me this. And I pull out the card, and I kind of flash the pentagram that's there at the rest of the group and say, I think we might have been summoned.
And you all see that same sigil, and it hits all of you. I think at this point, like, all of you probably need to make a inner turmoil roll, except for Dupool. You've already made yours.
Okay.
All right, I'll make a roll, and I think I'm rolling with anger, because it's really rich for Questions So Loud to be throwing that symbol around, especially springing it on poor Dupool unawares.
So I have a question about the trust pool mechanic. How does that work?
It's when you enter in, it's basically they almost pulled wholesale from masks. It's the team mechanic.
Oh, okay.
So when you enter into a conflict, whether you guys are entering into a big social conflict with all together, or whether you're entering into a fight altogether, whenever you guys basically enter a situation together to confront a mutual opposing force, we construct the trust pool, and we go through that, and then you spend points out of the trust pool to add to other people's roles, just like you would team in masks. I think Lowell's been entertaining the idea of switching that up with maybe a hope or despair style mechanic, but he hasn't done that yet. So we're just using the standard masks type situation.
The reason I was asking is because I wanted to see. So Dupol knows this is going to be impactful to the rest of the group, and he doesn't know exactly how to do this in a supporting way. But is there anything he can necessarily do that might help out whenever he?
I think we could treat this just for a quick illustration purposes as you guys confronting a mutual opposing force here. Like this is technically an opposing force. Like you're confronting Questions So Loud's obvious attempt to stab you in the emotional guts here with this thing.
I see.
So I think because you're all together now, and Dupol, because you've had to go through it, I think you can set them up. I think you can do it like with actually telling them, or you could do it by simply like giving off like an emotional vibe, like this, like that this is going to be ugly and they need to prep for it, and then we'll move into the team mechanic, the trust pool, and we'll go through how to build that.
Okay. So I think that whenever I come up, I kind of say, we have a friend in Summer, and you can tell almost sarcasm from the term friend that wants to just talk to us and has invoked a history that we haven't seen in a while.
Okay. So I think that that sets us up to use the trust pool. The trust pool states that when you enter a conflict against a dangerous foe as a group, add 1 to the trust pool. So we start out with 1. If everyone has the same purpose in this conflict, add another trust. I think it sounds like everybody would basically have this with that prep from Dupol. I think everyone is set up to try and deal with this emotional gut shot from your Summer Court former compatriot. So I think we could put 2 in the trust pool from that.
Okay.
But here's the thing. I think you all collectively are still ill prepared or off balance. Unless you guys can give me a reason as to why you would be like fully prepared to deal with this as a part of this mess.
No, I think that's right. That makes sense.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Okay, so that you got it. You got 1 in. That means you with 1 in the trust pool. Any motley member can spend trust 1 for 1 to help a comrade and give them +1 to their roll.
Is that before or after the die roll?
That's I think the default is you can spend it after the die roll, and I'm perfectly okay with that because you don't get very many of those.
Right.
At most you'll have 2. So
right.
So I'll let you spend them after the die roll. You can also spend them selfishly, just like you could team and masks.
I've made my die roll. I got an 8 minus 1 for anger is a 7. And I think I'm going to go ahead and mark clarity on this. So yeah, you just see Thistledown seething and like probably like the like hand that's still holding the cone, the little stick that the cotton candy came on, like involuntarily the claws come out a little and like dig right into it, right?
Okay. Now let me ask you this, like clarity is basically something that's basically causing you to start to lose a little bit of control in the balance on the balance sheet of your changeling versus mortal changeling versus mortal scale here. Yeah. So what effect what kind of effect do you think that, like, is there a visual effect when it comes to that, like that's turning you more toward the, if I'm using the old school terminology, like the more banal, like you're becoming like more focused on mortal and turning away from your fey side, or becoming more of a beast, like digging into your fey nature even more so now with this thrust of emotion?
It's more of a beast with the claws coming out, right?
Cool. Okay. Let's see. Will, did you make your roll?
Well, I think Alexia, if you're going to roll with your -1 stat, I'll do that too. There's a sense I roll with anger. There's this just sense of frustrated purpose, like questions so loud thwarted my hopes for the future by leaving, and I'm still feeling frustrated about that.
Okay.
Okay, that is a 10 - 1 is 9.
Okay.
And
Excellent. You have a similar choice to make there.
I try and push through the anger, and it just sort of leaves me numb. So I'm going to mark anger.
Okay. So what that means is you cannot use anger until we clear that mood, and we'll talk about how to do that probably next time. Because we're at 11 o'clock now by my estimation. Leah, could you give us a roll for Silicate and see how this inner turmoil happens?
I did. I rolled with fear, and I got an 8.
Okay.
So I'm also going to mark clarity here.
And what does that look like?
Yeah, I think the little food dispenser starts spinning by itself. You'd have to be a little attuned to magic to see it, but all the food coming out glows, and just a little, and it's all stamped with our old symbol.
Ooh.
Oh my God! You something terrible is going to happen in this zoo. There's going to be something ugly that happens. I'm storing up that. I'm storing that one up for later.
Is this zoo in Summer's domain?
I don't know. It's not technically in anybody's domain. This is just where like Rex works. This is her workplace, like her mortal workplace.
Like
kind of
your
like the bar is for you. Yeah. Now, would Summer claim it if they wanted to? Sure. Rex, I think Rex could just decide this is Summer territory. But she hasn't yet. Okay. I think everybody's made their rolls, and we've taken those results. So I think that's a good place for us to call it. Like every one of you now has felt that emotional burn from Questions So Loud's little card.
And I was expecting to sort of dance around him, not get called to talk to them again.
Yes, well, gotta love those hard moves. Now, Dupool, did you mark XP for the failed roll?
I think I've had 2 failed rolls, and I marked for both of those. Yes.
Okay. All right. Any other failed rolls? Make sure you've marked XP because that's still on the list of XP triggers.
I did.
Okay. Now we're going into our end of session move, and each of you gets to clear a checkbox from one state. Basically, you clear one mood at the end of each session. Okay. So each of you can do that. And then I have some questions, and for each positive answer to these questions, you can mark 1 XP. All right, the first question is, did you express your seeming or kith? And I'll go clockwise from on my Zoom screen here. So first, Jane, did you express your seeming or kith this time? I think you did with the statue stuff and the
a lot of establishment stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So mark 1 XP for that. And going around the window here, Leah, do you think Silicate expressed her seeming or kith? I'm pretty sure she did.
Yeah, I think the kith.
Okay. Dupool, Stephen, I'm pretty sure you got in there. I can't hear you, Stephen. What?
Oh,
now I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I think I tried, to get in there with the whole flightiness and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Okay. So you're marking XP for that.
Yeah.
Alexi, Thistledown, I'm pretty sure you got it in there. The cotton candy description is,
Oz came
awesome.
out at the end, so I'll take an XP.
Yeah. It worked. Now you talked about like the fox grin and all that kind of stuff, and that works too. But that part with the cotton candy just hit me pretty good. I like that. All right, now coming back around again. Will, did you express your season?
I was secretive. I was parsimonious with showing my hand. Except for the point where I revealed stuff to Dupool, so a bit of a big
they're
mix.
your motley. So it's expected for you to for you to share things with the motley. That's what they're there for. But I think you did a good job, and the season can also be like, interacting with the court structure of the season, in addition to displaying the season's preferences and prejudices and attitudes and things like that. Okay, Silicate, what did you express your season this time? What did Silicate do in relation to Autumn? How did they display their relationship with Autumn?
Well, plausibly, the jukebox shenanigans are not so much having a healthy fear of what's out there, but a healthy kind of attentiveness or unwillingness to pass over things unremarked, because anything could suddenly change.
No, the strangeness of the harvest season, I think, is definitely something that is in the Autumn wheelhouse. So I'll go with that. I think that works. You mark an XP there. Dupool, what did you do to express your relationship with spring? There we go. Now I can hear you.
Weird. Okay. So maybe I expressed it whenever I was talking to Beck and Call and Thistledown in the park, whenever I was trying to basically calm things down a little bit and talk to Thistledown to figure out, take advantage of Thistledown's interaction with Beck and Call. I don't know. It's kind of iffy.
Well, I mean, you interacted a lot with your court, I think. And I think you displayed like a lot of the things spring is known for, like the sort of joy and positivity. And
Trust.
I mean,
and yeah, surely. Okay.
Yeah, that's spring is that sort of like that naive burst of joy, and I think Dupool almost embodies it. I mean, as long as you're in those situations where you can express that, I think you're hitting the spring court, the spring season pretty well.
Okay.
Thistledown, what did you do that brought you in touch with your autumn side?
I think I tried to instill a healthy fear of what's out there by threatening Beck and Call with Silicate, my courtmate.
Yes, I think basically, and you also showed autumn solidarity, like, yeah, you're there. So I think we got that. The third question is, did you express your humanity? Jane, how did Jane express her humanity this session?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, we did see her at work, and we did see her interacting with clientele at work, but a lot of that was very mask-like.
Well, but that's part of being a person. Like, who hasn't had to pretend at work?
Yeah.
Especially customer service.
Yeah. So the unglamorous role of being a hostess in a customer service environment is where we saw Jane deal with her humanity this time.
I think that works. All of us have to deal with that. There's not a person alive that hasn't had to deal with a customer service position at one point or another. Leah, what did Silicate do this time to showcase or deal with their humanity in some way?
I'm not sure she did so much on this one.
She did a lot of magic-y stuff.
Yeah.
Now, her temper, that can certainly be a human side.
I don't think
but it's also part of her fae side too, though, right?
Say that one more time.
I said her temper could be a human side, but I think that's also part of her fae nature as well.
Yeah, that's what I was going to agree with. I think no one thinks temper is so alien to the fae.
Okay, well, if you think of something that might end up being positive, certainly you can shoot me an email, because I know these questions sort of put everybody on the spot at the end. So if some other idea comes up during the interim, certainly shoot me an email and we can chat about it. Dupool, how did Dupool express their humanity this time?
I'm not sure he did. He did a lot of interaction with the other courts, but I'm not, with the other fae. I'm not sure he did.
Okay. All right. And again, as before, if you think of something like, during the interim, shoot me an email into the email chain, and we'll go with we'll chat about it. Alexi, what did Thistledown do to express their humanity this round, or deal with their humanity in some way?
Talked about some paintings that needed stealing, but I did not make progress on that so much. I think there was kind of more of the face side overall, I guess.
Well, I could see that, but that the question is basically, did you do something? So I'll leave that up to you to suss out if you think that stretched his humanity muscle enough to where it would hit that. But I generally lean if something sounds human, like having to chat about your job or something like that. I generally lean toward allowing it if you want. But if you think it's not quite working enough on your end to really say that you really stretched that muscle and got in touch with your human side, I definitely see that too. So
maybe
I'll leave that as,
yeah.
go ahead.
I'll take the XP for running interference on a friend's conversation in a bar, which is a sort of human situation you might find yourself in.
A semi wingman role. I think that works.
But yeah, I'll take this as a little cue for me to hit the human side more for future sessions also.
Okay. All right. And that's pretty much everything for tonight. That's our end of session move. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for watching, and look forward to next session. And we'll say good night to everybody as we cut the recording.